TSA Oxford 2020, question 41. This is again a main conclusion question. So it's asking us to find the main conclusion that is contained within the passage. So we're trying to see if the passage leads to or follows from the main conclusion that we're about to draw. So in other words, all paths lead to this main conclusion. That's how we can identify the main conclusion in the passage. This makes up the majority of the critical thinking questions. So we really want to, not a majority, but it makes up a good proportion of the critical thinking questions on every past paper. So you really want to get good at identifying the main conclusion. All right, let's jump into this. Some readers think there's nothing to learn from historical fiction. Yet the historian and the writer of historical fiction can work in a way that is complementary. Okay, so a historian, so a nonfiction writer and a historical fiction writer can work together in a way that's complementary. Historical novels can thus enrich our understanding of the past. Okay, that sounds pretty conclusive there and argumentative, so I'll underline that. History is a record of the past that's full of gaps. We mostly don't know what was said or how people behaved when there was no one around to record what was going on. The historian's trade is never simply about stockpiling facts. The novelist's trade is never about just making things up. Those undocumented areas of history often force us to contemplate the most private human moments away from the public stage, and the blank spaces they leave are irresistible to a novelist. Okay, interesting. So just based on reading the passage, I think this is already the main conclusion. The fact that historical novels can thus enrich our understanding of the past, because everything that followed after that was sort of arguments to support that. But I'm going to go through the answers one by one regardless. So most areas of history were never documented. Okay, well, that is sort of just a reason. That is a reason why historical novels are useful, right? Because the entire passage is talking about how historical novels can basically help us fill in the gaps, right? Fill in the gaps where history was indeed never documented. So this is simply one of the arguments, but it's not a conclusion by any means. We can never know exactly what happened in the past. That's basically A stated a different way, right? A is saying, well, we didn't document certain parts of history. B says, well, we can't know exactly what happened. So it's, again, building off ambiguity. It's another reason why we may find value in historical novels and fiction writing. So B is not it. Historical novels can add to our understanding of the past. Okay, like I said before, that was what I thought was the main conclusion. I'm going to put C down for now. D, not everyone thinks we can learn something from historical fiction. Well, that's not what that's what the entire passage set out to disprove, right? D was the first sentence. Some readers think there is nothing to learn from historical fiction. And then the rest of the passage went on to disprove that by showing how historical writers, both fiction and nonfiction, can work together. So D is not it. E says the work of the historical novelist is not just about making things up. And that is an argument to why C is the main conclusion, right? Because the work of the historical novelist is not just about making things up, then we can conclude that historical novels can actually help add to our understanding of the past, because it's not just fiction. It's helping us fill in the gaps to what would otherwise be a fiction work. So C is the right answer. C is the main conclusion of this argument.